Have you ever imagined a single decision by France, one of the United States' oldest allies, tipping the scales of global financial power? France's bold embrace of China's Yuan for trade has left Washington grappling with a reality that few anticipated. Could this signal the decline of U.S. global dominance, or is it simply a pragmatic adaptation to a world in flux? By the end of this discussion, you'll understand how this pivotal move might reshape global power dynamics, and, yes, even impact your wallet. The term de-dollarization has been gaining traction in policy circles worldwide. But what does it actually entail? For decades, the US dollar has been the backbone of global trade and finance, dominating 58.36% of global reserves, according to the latest IMF data. Yet, a growing number of countries are now exploring alternatives, driven by concerns over excessive reliance on a single currency. France's shift toward the Chinese yuan is part of this broader trend. Unlike the dollar, the yuan offers trade partners an avenue to circumvent U.S. financial influence. A Reuters report reveals that nearly 20% of central banks worldwide either hold yuan reserves or are considering doing so, a stark rise from just 5 years ago. But why would a key U.S. ally like France spearhead this movement in Europe? Let's unravel the reasoning. France's strategic move. France's economy is deeply interconnected with global markets, boasting an expansive trade network. In 2023, France's total trade with China surpassed $96 billion, solidifying China as one of its top partners. French President Emmanuel Macron has consistently championed the idea of Europe achieving strategic autonomy, urging the EU to reduce dependency on both the US and China. During Macron's April 2023 visit to Beijing, several trade agreements were finalized, but one stood out. A landmark LNG trade conducted in Yuan by TotalEnergies, a French energy giant, as reported by Bloomberg. This deal wasn't just symbolic. It was a calculated strategy to reduce currency volatility and mitigate geopolitical risks tied to the dollar. Why are nations moving away from the dollar? The push for alternatives stems from what many perceive as the weaponization of the dollar. For decades, the U.S. has wielded its currency as a tool of geopolitical leverage, imposing sanctions that effectively cut targeted nations off from global trade. While these measures have been effective against adversaries like Russia and Iran, they've also sparked unease among allies. A 2024 report by the Atlantic Council revealed that over 37% of the world's population is affected by U.S. sanctions. European businesses have faced billions in losses due to secondary sanctions tied to countries like Iran, driving nations such as France to seek mechanisms that reduce their exposure. China's role in global ambitions. France's pivot aligns with China's long-term aspirations. The EU and China share one of the world's largest trade relationships, with bilateral trade reaching $856 billion in 2023. European industries rely on Chinese manufacturing, while China increasingly imports European luxury goods and advanced technologies. France has positioned itself as a key player in this relationship. Eurostat data highlights that France's exports to China include high-value goods such as aerospace components and wine. Meanwhile, Chinese electric vehicles are rapidly gaining ground in Europe, challenging traditional automakers. Energy is another critical domain. Historically, energy transactions have been dominated by the US dollar under the petrodollar system, a linchpin of US economic influence since the 1970s. However, the March 2024 trade between TotalEnergies and China marked a turning point. It wasn't just a business deal. It signaled shifting tides in global finance and energy trade. What's next for the global economy? France's move may seem isolated, but it's part of a broader realignment as nations diversify their financial systems. The implications extend beyond geopolitics. How will this trend affect trade, investments, and everyday consumers? As the global financial landscape evolves, staying informed is critical. By settling energy trade in yuan, France and China have signaled the dawn of a new financial era. Energy analyst Ellen Wald, in a conversation with the Financial Times, described this as a crack in the armor of dollar-based energy trade. If other nations follow suit, the US dollar's dominance in global markets could significantly wane. But what does this move really mean for the global financial system? And what are the stakes for France, the US, and the rest of the world? France's decision is undeniably bold but complex. Let's weigh the pros and cons. The rewards and risks of France's Yuan pivot. The benefits for France are clear. Deeper access to China's massive consumer market offers immense growth opportunities for French exports. Reduced dollar volatility enhances economic stability by trading in yuan. And energy security is bolstered by sidestepping the U.S. financial system, shielding France from potential geopolitical disruptions. Yet, these gains come with significant risks. Economic coercion. Critics warn that aligning too closely with China could make France vulnerable, as Beijing has previously employed economic pressure on nations like Australia and Lithuania. Strained U.S. relations. France risks jeopardizing critical defense and technology partnerships with Washington. And a recent editorial cautioned France must carefully balance strategic autonomy with the risk of strategic isolation. This delicate balancing act underscores the stakes for Europe's role in an evolving global order. China's vision. A yuan-centric world. France's decision cannot be fully understood without examining China's long-term ambitions. For over a decade, Beijing has systematically laid the groundwork for yuan internationalization. Initiatives like the Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, and the establishment of yuan clearing banks across continents have steadily eroded dollar dominance. Economist Joseph Stiglitz, writing for Foreign Affairs, called China's yuan strategy a geopolitical masterstroke, aimed at reducing dependency on Western financial systems. France's embrace of the yuan fits seamlessly into this vision, amplifying Beijing's influence in global markets. Why this threatens U.S. economic dominance? The U.S. dollar is not just a currency, it's a tool of geopolitical power. From enforcing sanctions to distributing foreign aid, the dollar gives Washington unparalleled influence. France's move to trade in yuan challenges the U.S. dollar's dominance in global affairs. The Economist warns that increased yuan adoption could significantly diminish U.S. leverage over international markets. This raises questions about Washington's response, potential mitigation strategies, and the risk of escalating tensions with allies and rivals. Beyond the headline-grabbing energy trade, France's shift also impacts agriculture. In 2023, French agricultural exports to China, including pork, dairy, and wine, reached $5.6 billion. China's growing middle-class fuels demand for high-quality European products, making France a key supplier. However, rising protectionism and food security concerns could complicate this relationship. For rural France, trade with China is crucial for livelihoods, and any disruption could have significant domestic consequences. The growing adoption of the yuan is driving the evolution of global banking systems. Major institutions like HSBC and BNP Paribas now offer yuan-denominated trade financing, demonstrating the currency's integration into global markets. According to SWIFT, the yuan accounted for 3.8% of global payments in 2023, a substantial increase from 1% a decade ago. This rise signals a potential fragmentation of the global financial system, a trend that Kenneth Rogoff, in a Wall Street Journal interview, warned could increase the risk of financial crises. France's decision to settle trade in yuan marks a shift away from a dollar-dominated unipolar world. As Brazil, India, and South Africa explore similar strategies, the global financial system moves closer to a multipolar reality. However, challenges remain. The dollar's resilience during crises like the COVID-19 pandemic contrasts with the yuan's need to establish global trust as a stable and reliable currency. Strengthening economic ties with China also exposes nations like France to Beijing's geopolitical ambitions. For the U.S., a diminished dollar role carries profound consequences, including reduced global influence, higher borrowing costs, and increased economic uncertainty. A weaker dollar would limit Washington's ability to shape global policy through sanctions and aid. Reduced demand for dollar-denominated assets could increase U.S. debt financing costs. A fragmented currency system could introduce new instabilities into global markets. Despite these concerns, the dollar remains the world's primary reserve currency, trusted by governments and investors. France's embrace of the yuan represents more than a financial shift. It's a statement about the future of global power. As the U.S. and China compete for influence, France's move highlights the growing complexity of a multipolar world. It raises questions about the potential end of U.S. hegemony, Washington's adaptation strategies, and the broader impact of these changes. Your investments, your business, and your future. If you found this analysis insightful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Explore the video now on your screen to dive deeper into these pressing global issues.